Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network.
We're at the Grand Hotel in Nanaimo today. Why? Because the 11th annual Nanaimo Whisky Festival, also known as the Tipple Festival, is coming up. It's a huge fundraiser for the Crimson Coast Dance Society. We have some members of the Mid-Island Whisky Society here. I think we're going to be talking about some whiskey today. What do you think? 'Tis the season for wildlife in the attic, views from a young Ladysmith feminist, and back to the beginning with Clock. Don from the Mid-Island Whisky Society just showed up and he went, "Oh, it's like being in a candy store." We're going to sample some candy later on this edition of Go Island. First, though, how do you spell whiskey? Is there an E or is there not an E? Well, according to Wikipedia, I checked it out before we left the studio today, E is used commonly in the United States and Ireland, while there is no E used commonly in Canada, Japan, Scotland, England, or Wales. But like most things in life, there's a lot of inconsistency. Today, for this event that's coming up on March the 28th, there is no E in whiskey. We are in Canada, after all. It is spring here on Vancouver Island, and with spring comes lots of little baby critters, raccoons and rabbits and birds, and you might find them nesting in your attic, your shed, or under your porch. Before you vacate them, there are some things you should know. Here's Kelly Robinson. And what is it that we're pouring here, Joel?
This is Ben Riach, 15-year.
And as far as whiskeys go, what kind of caliber, flavor profile are we looking at?
Well, just warm it up a little bit on the bottom of your hand.
Okay, why am I doing that?
And it's going to bring, you'll notice the heat from your hand is going to bring the alcohol in the nose out.
Okay.
Okay, and then just put the glass slowly under your nose here.
Okay.
Take your hand off. And then come back
I feel
to
like
it.
I'm like, okay.
And then just come back to it. And what do you smell?
Oh,
You smell
a little bit of spice, and I know that's
right?
not very
Yes,
specific.
No, yeah. What else? I can smell
Orange?
some cinnamon.
Orange?
Orange. Yeah. I can smell some cinnamon.
What does it mean that it's been aged 15 years?
Means it's been in a barrel for 15 years. Or not necessarily in a barrel for 15 years, but it was made basically made 15 years ago.
Okay. And is that a long
It
time?
has to be 3 years old to be called a whiskey. Otherwise, it's a spirit. But it has to age for 3 years before you can legally call it a whiskey.
Now, this is only one of the many whiskeys that will be featured at the upcoming Nanaimo Whisky Festival, or Tipple Party, if that's what you want to call it. It's taking place right here at the Grand Hotel on March the 28th. We'll give you more details about that. These two guys are with the Mid-Island Whisky Society, so they're here to give us a little bit of a whiskey education today. Can we taste it yet?
Taste it.
Taste it all you want. And as you'll notice on the palate, it'll be a little bit sweet. And that's when you tasted some of the fruit. And the reason for that is it was aged in a sherry cask.
Okay.
And sort of chew it a little bit.
Chew it.
Chew it.
It's liquid.
And wash it around your mouth.
Yeah, just put a little bit in your mouth and just sort of chew it, and then it goes all around your mouth, and you can...
I can feel it coming down into my shoulders, actually.
That means it's good.
It's really nice.
What is it about whiskey that you love so much?
I think for me, it's the mystique.
Mystique.
Mystique, and it's just the waters, and I mean, it's an old whiskey. I mean, the distilling process goes back to a couple of hundred years. But it's just, especially from Scotland, it's the water, it's the peat, it's the distilling process, the kettles that they cook it in are all different shapes. And
It is very sweet. I don't think I've ever thought of whiskey as sweet before.
It can leave a sweet aftertaste, absolutely.
Is there a lot of range? I know we're going to sample another one later. Is the range in...
Oh, it can be from the sweetest, smoothest whiskey or the liquid you've ever had to the smokiest one that goes hair in your chest immediately upon reaching your tongue.
That's what I want, some hair on my chest. But there are more women drinking whiskey, I hear.
Absolutely.
It's not just a man's
no,
game
it's not
anymore.
just a man's game, no.
I was talking with Doug earlier about the Mid-Island Whisky Society, and you only have about 25 members because usually there's 25 ounces in a bottle of whiskey, and you spend about 45 minutes discussing one...
Whiskey.
You'd be discussing this, which I've already drank, for about 45 minutes.
somebody does a little bit of research on whatever sample we're going to have, and it's a what do we call it, a secret sample. The
Yes.
bottles are covered, so you really don't know what you've got, so it doesn't change your evaluation of it. And we all talk about it, and then open it up after and see what we've got.
And there's a whole rating sheet and everything that
you
goes with
betcha.
it. We'll look at that a little bit later. Our time is flying by today. The bottles will not be covered at the Wee Tipple Party Nanaimo Whisky Festival on March the 28th, taking place right here at the Grand Hotel, 7 o'clock. I imagine you'd have to get your tickets in advance. We'll be back with more on whiskey after a short break. Still to come today, a young Ladysmith playwright finds her voice on stage, and back to the very first edition of Clocked, it's almost vintage.
Did you know that hops were one of the first commercially grown crops on Vancouver Island? They started in the 1800s and were used for beer making for the miners here on Vancouver Island.
You're watching Go Island, and today we're talking about the Wee Tipple Party, the Nanaimo Whisky Festival, coming to the Grand Hotel on March the 28th. And it is a celebration of contemporary dance in Nanaimo, a big fundraiser for Crimson Coast Dance Society. But it's also a celebration of craft beer and spirits and ciders. But the star of the show, of course, is whiskey. That's why we're here at the Grand. The event is here, but also Vancouver Island's largest whiskey bar is here as well. And to tease you a little bit with what you can expect, Susie, Sirri, this is the lineup for the 28th.
Yes, so Friday the 28th, just to tease you with some of the brands that will be making an appearance. Ben Reich, I'm really bad at pronouncing this one, Ben Reich.
It was delicious, by the way.
It was.
We just had a little sample. It was fabulous.
Lefroy will be represented. We have a beautiful donation from Ardbeg and Glenmorangie that will be at the silent auction. Glen Farkless will be making an appearance. Cavalan from Taiwan will be there. Glenlivet. Old Pulteney, which was the #1 whiskey in the world. I believe it was a year or two ago when they received their big honor from Wick in Scotland up north. Macallan will definitely be represented with their new unnumbered whiskeys because whiskey shouldn't be classified by an age, according to Macallan. Weiser's whiskey, there'll be a nice selection of different Canadian whiskeys and ryes.
Wow.
So we do have a lot of fun lining up.
And a lot of things to sample on March the 28th. The big challenge for the rest of this edition of Go Island is to choose which one we're going to sample with members from the Mid-Island Whisky Society later on this edition of Go. But we're throwing things over right now to Annette Lucas, a theater student, 17 years old in Ladysmith, decided to take her feminist views, put them on stage as a way to help others find their voice. We're sampling our second whiskey today on Go Island. I asked Don here what he'd like to pick, and what did you choose?
I thought we would try the Macallan Amber.
Why?
It's a beautiful whiskey. It's one of a set of whiskies that Macallan has brought out now, where their final aging is done in sherry casks from Jimenez.
Okay.
So it imparts some beautiful secondary notes from the original bottling, from the original casking in probably the bourbon cask.
So I expect it to be quite fruity? Is that?
It's a nice, light, delicate perhaps, so quite quiet on the nose. And then if you take a taste, yeah, some would say unapologetic. You'll see some beautiful flavors there perhaps of fruit, cinnamon, some lovely vanilla overtones.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
they just
very
keep coming
different.
back.
It doesn't seem as sweet as the previous one that we were testing.
No, that's right. That's why I say unapologetic. Now you'll start to get secondary tasting coming out there. You're probably finding that still in the palate there.
A little,
It's filling
almost
your
like a
mouth.
little bit of a bite on the sides of my tongue.
Indeed, yes, yes.
Not
So
in a
it-
bad way.
So it's going along the journey with you. It's accompanying you all the way.
What is it about whiskey that you love?
It's a taste of home. I was born and brought up in Scotland, so it takes me back.
Okay.
Yes, beautiful.
And this again is one of many whiskeys that you can sample on March 28th at the Wee Tipple Party Nanaimo Whisky Festival here at the Grand Hotel. We'll be back with more after a short break. After we finish this, I think. Have you even tried it yet?
I have indeed. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Have to see you there.
Lots of fun here in anticipation of the Nanaimo Whisky Festival We Tipple Party, March 28th, here at the Grand, 7 o'clock. It is a fundraiser for the Crimson Coast Dance Society. In order to attend, you need to get tickets, and with events like this, you have to get them in advance, right?
You do, and you can get them at the Grand Hotel in the lobby and at our website, crimsoncoastdance.org. Call us at 716-3230. Or the Grand at 758-3000.
Oh, she's got the phone number memorized off by heart. Because of the liquor, you're not allowed to sell tickets at the door, so you don't want to be disappointed. Lots of exciting items up for grabs on the auction tables as well.
We do, yeah. We have a couple of bottles of scotch that have been contributed, as well as overnight stays at Mount Washington and Vancouver, Victoria. It's going to be really exciting. People have really upped the bar. Once we moved to the Grand Hotel, everything has gotten more elegant and exciting. And we have 2 WestJet tickets that fly you to anywhere they fly that are going to be raffled.
And Jen Houtby-Ferguson from the Economic Development Corporation knows how exciting that is because she won them at the Child Development Center's recent gala event. Whiskey is not as enjoyable on its own. You need food to go with it.
And the chef from the Grand Cru restaurant is serving up some fantastic culinary selections as well. It's going to be a great night. We'll have music by Terrazada, is a Latin jazz fusion duo, and really elegant, fun evening. Come and join us.
Okay, and you don't want to be disappointed. Get your tickets soon because by the sounds of that, I think it's going to sell out. We're going to throw things over now to Todd and Derek, who never run out of time, it seems, for a new edition of Clocked. Almost completely out of time and then some for this edition of Go Island. The Nanaimo Whisky Festival We Tipple Party, March 28th, a big fundraiser for Crimson Coast Dance Society, allowing them to bring and produce and help contemporary dance in Nanaimo thrive. We'll be joining them for their Body Talk project. They have a finale performance on Saturday, March 22nd. Hip hop meets swing in a dance-off, 7:30 p.m. Malaspina Theater at VIU. A whole lot of fun. I can't imagine Nanaimo without Crimson Coast. We Tipple, Nanaimo Whisky Festival, March 28th. Thanks for watching this edition of Go. We'll see you next time.
Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network. Clothing supplied by Catwalk Fashions. Kate's Hair and Aesthetics provided by Maffeo Salon.